Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. That's me. I'll be dressed a little bit like this for the show. Please come out to support. It sounded funny at the time in Dearborn, December the 17th, 2022. All right. So here's the deal. I just got to get this straight. It's all right. Because I can't keep bending this way. So look, this show is going to be amazing. I'm being brought there by my brother, Big Fresh, and everybody in the Hammertrack area. My main man, Ishmael, and his lovely queen. Lafiki's going to be there. This is going to be an amazing show. It's going to be intimate. It's going to be funny. Years ago, I did something called Love Supreme and Anatomy of Gratitude, which was a true tribute to John Coltrane through comedy. Now we have this thing. We got so many things to talk about: the pandemic, the elections, Trump. Listen, brothers and sisters, this is the time. We're going to be doing a show. Yeah, it is. It's called It Sounded Funny at the Time, Dearborn, Michigan, December the 17th. Listen, I hope you guys attend. I'm looking forward to coming back to the Dearborn area and just being amongst my brothers and sisters. Come on out. $20 if you get your tickets early. $25 if you get them late. And if you don't like Muslims, you don't get a ticket at all. Listen, see you there. I won't see you. No matter, because we're going to have an epic time. With your moms. It sounded funny at the time. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. It's your brother, Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope that you are having an amazing Tuesday wherever you are, parts of the country. You definitely need to button up because it's definitely gotten colder. Be careful out on some of those roads. We have snowstorms around in the Midwest coming east. So, I would caution everybody. Watch how you're driving, leave space, all those type of things. And as well, dress for the weather. We come today, and before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Lafuki, who was on the show yesterday. We talked about, the show was called Spiritually Sound, and I just want to thank them, Lafuki and Divine Providence. They did a wonderful job talking about music and the spirituality of music and just the overall creative process. Much shout outs to them, Brother Ishmael and Sister Tazine. Also, I'm going to give a shout out also to my main man, Imam Fatul out in Las Vegas. Just reached out to give me a call to see how I was doing. No cost of business. We had laughs. He's doing great. Alhamdulillah. He went through some stuff, but he's rebounded. So it was nice to talk to my brother. Today is a little sad day. Many of you know, and you've heard me talk about Brother Reginald Kitchen, who was my big brother, who was my mentor. Somebody 30-some years, you never have an argument. I was honored when it was his time to transition. He put me in charge of trying to make sure it happened right, and he got a proper Muslim burial, all of those things. And you've heard me talk about him, but you never really heard me talk about the general. The general was his wife, Sister Lorraine Kitchen. And Sister Lorraine returned to Allah on Saturday. I just got the call today. Thank you, Brother Ben, for giving me a ring. And I kind of framed the story about her. Our show today is really about her, but also instead of just remembering her, something that she would always impart to me, which was remembering kindness. And we always talk about how the stars align, if you will. It was interesting that on a day where so many people were mourning the loss of just a beautiful human being, an angel, that you start getting calls. I got a call from Las Vegas from Brother Fatula, Imam Fatula. I also got a call from someone who actually knew Sister Kitchen and knew Brother Reginald, my friend Omar Bazinji, and he lives in Turkey, so he was calling pretty late. Shout out to Omar. And what was interesting was when he called, I thought he already had known that Sister had passed, and he did not know. And it sparked this very, very beautiful philosophical conversation about kindness, about people who are kind in our spaces, and how we work that. Because sometimes you'll find out the value of your kindness when people are not kind to you, when you have absolutely no reason to share this blessing, but you do. Maybe someone wasn't kind to you, but you're not kind. You're kind to the next person, and just the miracle. And I want to say the gravitas of what that feeling was, and to have Omar call to say, basically, man, you on my spirit, and Imam to say the same thing was a beautiful thing, and it kind of tempered what this conversation is going to be, because this will not be a eulogy about Sister Lorraine, because that's not who she was. And I'm worried. I don't like to do eulogies, because I always have this feeling that spiritually the people's good works and spirit and good spirit, that they're continually working. So with that, we're going to take a quick break and come back. Thank you for joining our show today, which is Remembering Kindness, Sister Lorraine. Welcome to the SOS a Shout Out Show. Don't you move. We'll be right back. All right, before we get started with today's topic, I want to make sure we shout out everybody in the shout out showroom. We want to shout out all our shout out show royalty and soldiers, starting, of course, with Sister Ree. How you doing, Sister Ree? Let me give you the proper greeting. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. You know, Sister Ree, you've been on this show so long, you are an honorary Muslim. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to make you one. All right? What that means is you have the blessings of all of us on this show and our community, and we thank you so much for all that you do. And peace and blessings to your husband as well as your son, Joanna. Give a shout out to my main man, Johnny L. Thomas, better known as JT. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, beloved? Good to see you in the place. Let me know how Aunt Mamie is doing. Let me know how you're doing, seeing as you're working as home health care. But I'm not mad at you, man. Allah's gonna bless you for your kindness and your generosity. Practice patience. That's what I always say. Practice patience. Good to see you in this space. We'll talk soon. Next up, Mr. 6 o'clock, better known as Altaf Rashid, my brother. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nice to see you in the place, man. We appreciate you as always. In case you guys are just tuning in, he is our official Canadian envoy from the country of Canada. He comes here every day to make sure that the quality of the show crosses both borders. We appreciate you. And my main man, Big Brother Bilal Salahuddin, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He's saying he's got the whole crew in the house today, which will comprise him and, of course, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. What's going on, dear sister? Sometimes she, Bilal, sometimes she just sends in her own comments. But it's okay. Nice to see that you guys are in the same place. Peace and blessings to the grandbabies. I know they're not in your house right now because it's a weekday, but when they come, you tell them. Even if they can't talk, tell them Uncle Preach gave some lambs. All right. Next up, my main man, Mark Kennedy. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mark, thank you so much for the generosity of being able to broadcast from your office yesterday. I appreciate you. It was a different interview, and it was nice being in your office and having the confines of just being able to lay out. And shout out to Sister Tina, Queen Tina, his wife, who can definitely burn. I had potato soup, cheese biscuits, and lemon cake. I just finished off the lemon cake too. It was fantastic with a cherry coke, but the cherry coke was kind of warm, so I threw it off. But the lemon cake was banging. All right, appreciate it. And of course, executive producer. Oh, sorry, brother Eric. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, Big E? Can I call you Big E? Or do I need to call you Eric? Or can I call you the Big E? Now, the Big E has some big names. That's Elvin Hayes. That's a lot of people. If I call you the Big E, man, you got to live up to it. So I'm hoping you're doing good things in the world before I give you the title. All right, brother. Appreciate you. And again, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And of course, our executive producer, Sister Satana. Sister Satana Whitfield working back, making sure everything. Sister Satana sometimes comes on people and her equipment ain't right, and she will work it out. So she's a troubleshooter. So if you see things a little blink and then it works, a lot of times that's just her on the other side working it out. So Sister Satana, we appreciate you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Earlier today, I received a call from a friend, fellow Muslim brother, Benjamin Bakley. And Ben was, in many regards, a caretaker for my big brother during his later stages of his life. Brother Reginald Kitchen, making sure that Brother Kitchen got to his appointments and the like. He was a dutiful servant, hands down, dedicated to Brother Kitchen, but also dedicated to the Kitchen family, which would be sister, daughter Patricia, and I call her, and we call her Sister Lorraine Kitchen. I called her the General. Now, people may have given her another name, but I called her the General because as much as Reggie was on the front and as loud as he could be and boisterous as he could be, there was a balance. And the balance was Sister Lorraine. And the yin and the yang was never a yin and a yang. It was a yin yin and a yang yang. It was balanced. And it was a beautiful marriage for quite a long time. And I, in some regards, respected her because she understood the part about particularly men being men. Now, let me explain what I mean. Men being men. So her husband was an example of a man being a man. And in that, she shared him to the world. And what I mean is that in places where fatherhood wasn't valued or absent, she, as a mother figure, emphasized that men needed to be men, that boys need to grow up to be men, and fatherhood was something to be taken seriously. When I first met her, Reginald said something to me. Coach Reg said to me that was really, really important, and I'll share it with you. And we have to, as men, we have to understand this about our women, our wives, the mothers of our children. And Reggie said something, and I think I was all of maybe 22, 23, maybe 20, 23, 24 when I first met her. And she was very direct, but loving and caring. Let me say something, very direct, but loving and caring, but not to the point where you feel like she was any kind of a pushover. She was not a pushover. And Reggie said, preacher, as most North Philly dudes do, when they talk to you, they hit you like bam, bam. And she was walking away, bam, bam. He said, you see my wife? I said, yeah, but you about to dislocate my shoulder. He said, remember this. He said, my wife reminds me that dignity and discipline are not to be taken lightly, and they should not be undertaken lightly. They shouldn't be taken lightly, nor should they be undertaken lightly. So what does that mean? What that means is, in this space, for all of us, we have opportunities to question ourselves. We have very, very clear examples where we can express who we are. And with Sister Kitchen, you can go throughout Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, and you're going to find one thing that was very, 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 very consistent. That not only did she practice kindness, but she emphasized that we remember kindness. Remember kindness. See, practicing kindness is one thing, but remembering it is when the person is not in front of you. That words that you say are things they remember in your absence. That the smile or the hug or the warm bowl of soup or just cheerful conversation is something that you can't place a value on. And so when this happens, when our angels leave us, like Sister Kitchen, like Aunt Shirley, like my dad, like Brother Reggie, and so many others, there's a void that they leave for us, and that void is for us to step into the example. We can't be them. We can't be them. We can't replicate everything they do, but conceptually, they leave a space. You know, I was when Reggie passed, it was interesting. Even when my dad passed, and with Sister Lorraine. You know what's interesting was when I tried to find pictures on the internet of these people who are so substantial in my life. When I went on the internet, and you're talking about Reggie Kitchen, who put young men in the NBA, made them, helped them become millionaires. And right beside him was Sister Kitchen, Sister Lorraine, that balance, the team, if you will. I tried to find a picture, and it's interesting because the magic of these people is that they are so significant in what they do, we can't find images of them. We only have these strong memories, these strong impressions, these examples of care and love, and this is what we hold on to. You're not doing any SEO searches for the spirituality of these type of people. It's just not there. I would even throw out that there are other people who are. We just had a conference in DC, the A Time to Be Grateful conference in DC. I can't tell you how many pictures I actually saw of Imam Warfdi Muhammad. There was slight mention, but it bears fruit that these people's example is so pure that if you don't take it into the best of intentions, then it's gone forever. And so this day, we don't memorialize, I won't memorialize Sister Lorraine, the general. What I will point out is that kindness directed her steps. And I see it in a very small circle, brothers and sisters. As I said to a friend earlier, you know, how are you doing? I said, man, my circle is getting smaller and smaller, that circle of influence. And what happens is if you're doing it right, while your circle gets smaller, you realize that circles are forming around you. And it goes back to what Reggie said about his wife, that dignity and discipline are not to be taken lightly or undertaken lightly. That the business of care and love in the world is not a monetary business. This is a transitional action that all of us have to undertake for the betterment of our lives and the lives of us around us. This currency that we talk about, this kindness, if we talk about, is revealing in so many ways. Revealing in so many ways. I had an opportunity to rethink my relationship with my big brother and the silent partner who was even bigger in this space was Miss Kitchen, who would loan her husband out to people like myself, to brother Omar Bazenji, to Grant Hill, to, you know, Major League Basketball players, but the person in the street. And she created a format where she understood that when he came in late, he was doing good in the world. And she emphasized that. Like for me, I'll never forget this. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a break and come back. We'll be right back here on the shop. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open.
You know what you want to hear? I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just gotta hear "Don't Get the COVID."
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now is the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
We're back. Thank you for joining us, coming back. I wanted to give this example of a special type of kindness from Sister Lorraine. And I'm trying to frame it correctly so I don't get too emotional. But in the days where my big brother Reginald Kitchen was sick, I couldn't get a hold of him, which wasn't a big deal because he'd be traveling and doing like that. But at this point in time, I got a little nervous. He wasn't returning calls. He wasn't returning texts. And I got a call, and it was Reggie. And I said, "Assalamu alaikum, Mark," and he gave me the green back. And we went back and forth. And I kept hearing things behind him, but that's not new. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said something that snapped me out of reality. I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Man, I'm getting ready to divorce my wife." I said, "What wife is this?" "I'm going to divorce Lorraine." I said, "Boy, you sick." He said, "I am." And he put Sister Lorraine on the phone, and she said, "Your brother needs to tell you everything that's going on. He's joking and playing, but I called him to tell you what's going on. He's not well, but I want him to say it out of his mouth." And when I got the phone, he told me that he had a series of strokes, mini strokes. He said, "I had 4 mini strokes." I said, "That's one mini too many." And we began a relationship whereby we talked about a transition could be coming. But the kindness was this, that somehow, some way, she got Reggie to get on the phone and give me what was devastating news. And this devastating news was probably the worst news I could expect coming from my brother, knowing that he had some health issues, but I didn't expect this. And here's the thing that was different. She allowed me to laugh with my brother before I got this news, that we can have a chuckle, that she allowed for him to make a joke before we got to the business of how's your health, what do you need, what do we need to plan for, and just the kindness of time, that he was ill, that the nurses and the doctors that were around him would be a pathway to him never leaving the hospital again. And she made a way for me to stay in contact with him, whether it's on the video phone, and there are hundreds of people, thousands of people Reggie has affected, but gazillions of people he's affected. But she made time for me, knowing that when the time came, I have to carry water for him. I have to organize his janaza and be there. And the strength of the woman was when we had to bury him in Philadelphia. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Muslim burial rituals, but I remember Reggie's body was so deteriorated that they couldn't watch the body and they had to actually put him in a casket. And Reggie's like 6'3", so it was almost like, that he was this small. But we put him in the casket, and I remember walking over to her and I said, are you strong enough to put dirt on his grave? She didn't say anything. Zero. She moved me to the side. She grabbed that shovel and she started digging. And it became an example for the rest of us because we were devastated. When you have somebody that's in your life 30 some years and they were married for quite some time, it was interesting that she set the example and the bar that high for kindness, even in the grave, kindness, to somehow, some way create a space of generosity and respect. Remember I said dignity, that discipline, even in the most difficult of times, she showed it to us and we appreciate it. I appreciate it. And allowed me to do what I need to do. So in closing, the dismount is this. Dignity and discipline. Don't take them lightly and don't undertake them lightly. In the world today, there is an absence of dignity and discipline. In the world today, people play on these things. These things are part of the blessing and barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With them, you have balance and order. If you take one out or both of them out, you have complete chaos. The mention of the word love should not be a word whereby people shriek back, feel small, or worse, feel weak. And that we have people who continually give us these blessings. I, like many of us, we pray for our loved ones, but I try to do a little bit more like all of you. I try to pray for the goodwill of the loved ones that they left in this world. That the lessons that were done are still being valued and executed, even though that person isn't there anymore. And just like the pictures that you couldn't find, like I could hardly find any pictures of Reggie or Lorraine or even my dad, because in our mind, the people have transfixed us on their character, on their love, and their kindness. The genius of it all is that they put it in front of us and they say nothing. They don't advertise it. They don't put a spotlight on it. They don't text about it. It's the genuineness of it all. That when you run into it, it's something that means something because it didn't have to be there. It's something that means something because outside in the world, people don't think about these things. We don't readily think about kindness for a stranger. We barely think about kindness to one another. That there's no cost of business attached to the love of these people and how they love the other people around them. It's interesting. And I would have these conversations sometimes with Reggie. And I was like, because I was upset, that more people didn't come to support him in his time of need. And he stopped. Just like Sister Kitchen stopped and said, we're not here for the accolades. We're not here for all the accolades. We're not here for that. We're here to be workers. We're here to be workers. It's a shout out show today. You guys have been amazing. God bless. Please make dua for the Kitchen family in their time of need. I'm going to do it. I appreciate you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah. See you tomorrow.